Hey guys, what's up? Zach here, CrossFit all day, every day. Had a friend contact me with some hip dysfunction. They've been having a lot of issues through their right hip, popping, clicking, things of that sort. So I'm gonna give you guys a few things here to clean up your hips and make sure things are moving properly. Sometimes we need to think about what are my daily positions that I'm in. Do I stand a lot? Do I sit a lot, which is detrimental? And then also too, looking at the tissue surrounding the hip. If I've been stuck in a poor position for a long time, those tissues are going to form to those poor positions. So today's goal is to get that hip moving properly and make it feel smooth. But we're just gonna take our time doing a lot of soft tissue work around the hip and feeding some slack in there. And then we'll also approximate the hip to make sure that it's sitting the proper way, okay? So first things first, just a ball of choice. You could use a big ball or a small ball. I'm gonna start with the big ball, and we're just gonna spend a nice 2 minutes here just doing some cleaning up around the hip. So we're just kind of priming the tissues for what we'll do next. So very simple goal is I wanna use my ball to clean up any of this area around the hip. And what this is going to do is it's going to highlight where we may have some possible issues, some tight spots or dysfunction, so that we know that for future reference and we can get right back into those areas, okay? So just a nice little 2-minute session here. This one helps if you just kind of be on your side and then let the leg hang open, and then it's in a little bit of a flex through the knee. And from here, we're just gonna work on kind of just doing some hip circles. So I'm just gonna start out nice and slow, and I'm making my way around and catching some of my glute. Then I'm getting into that upper glute, and then I'll get a little bit off onto the side. I might even catch a little bit of TFL, but I'm just kind of circling here and finding out where some possible issues are. If I find anything that is pretty stiff and I can't put my full weight on it, let's do some moving around here and see if we can get these tissues to kind of obey what I'm doing for a little bit. And then most importantly, if I can't put my full weight on something, okay, so I've got a spot here, I want to contract my glute, so I want to flex and hold that for 4 seconds. And then I want to control the release for 8, okay? And the goal is to get this ball to sink into these tissues and kind of get things to move out of the way, okay? It may take 2 or 3 times, contracting again, holding for 4, and then releasing until I can get to the bottom of those muscle fibers, okay? So if it doesn't happen on the first time, stay there and repeat that pattern in order to get those tissues to kind of move out of the way so that they open up the hip a little bit, okay? So, but another 30 seconds here. Keep doing some circling. Don't be afraid too to put this leg in some different positions. Try some extension. Sweep it through. This is like a standing position, okay? This would look more like my squat where my leg is up here. And test all of these and everything in between as well to see kind of what's going on through that hip, okay? So just a nice little softening piece to get started, all right? If 2 minutes doesn't feel like enough, you got some real nasty little things in there, then go 3 minutes. But we're just kind of priming the hip up as we're gonna approximate it next, okay? So good little 2 minutes there. And tissues are softened up slightly, okay? We're letting them know we're coming in, all right? So this is good, all right? So next piece then, more beneficial to have a little bit of a pad underneath you. I just got a yoga mat here, but I'm gonna set this yoga mat up, and then I'm gonna go after the same hip, okay? So I'm gonna take my knee, I'm gonna place it directly in the middle of my pad. I'm going to be on all 3s. My left leg is extended back, okay? And most importantly, before I start here, is I want to make sure that my hip is directly over my knee to start. And then I'm going to take my body weight and I'm going to shift it into this hip, All right, so now I'm feeling some pressure through the side. My belly button is still facing the floor. Okay, I haven't rotated, I haven't twisted or turned. I'm just leaning my weight into my right hip. Okay, so now from here, we're gonna perform a sequence of some contracting, relaxing, to see if we can allow this head of the femur to kind of slide back into the capsule. All right, so right off the bat, I found a tight spot, so I'm gonna squeeze my glute. I'm gonna hold it for 4, so I'm still squeezing. And then I'm gonna release, and I'm gonna be exhaling at the same time for 8 seconds, okay? Now each time I release that tension through my glute, I'm gonna see if I can take up a little bit more slack. I'm gonna lean a little bit more into that if I can. If not, that's okay. Just might be pretty stiff back there. Go ahead and contract again. Squeeze your glutes. Hold for 4. Good. Release that contraction. Hopefully just within 2 times you're noticing, hey, I can kind of sit a little bit more into that hip. I can take up the slack. From here, what I want you to do is to slide your butt back a good 2 to 3 inches. Okay, so I found a new spot, and I can feel now that this spot is tighter than where I was in my first time. So I'm gonna stop here, and now I'm gonna repeat that pattern. I'm gonna contract my glute. I'm gonna hold it for 4. And then I'm gonna release that tension and see if I can lean into this a little bit. Okay, remember the belly button's still facing the floor, and I'm just using my body weight to shift it into my hip. And I'm feeling a lot of pressure through the side of my glute. Okay, one more time in that same spot. Go ahead and contract, hold, and give it a good squeeze. Hold, hold, hold. Good, release. Finding that I'm getting a little bit more room in here now. Go ahead and slide your butt back another 2 to 3 inches. See if you can find a new spot. Take a breath here. Go ahead and contract. Squeeze that glute. Hold. Good. Release. See if you can lean into that a little bit more. If you're feeling some burning in here, that's completely normal. Even if your body temperature is starting to rise as well, that is normal too. Go ahead and do that again. Contract, hold. Good, release. And then now on this release, see if you can take this all the way back. Imagine trying to get your butt to sit onto your heel. You're still leaning into the hip, so there's still a lot of pressure when we just close this hip down. Okay, so this almost looks like as if I'm pulling my knee to my chest. I'm gonna take a breath. I'm gonna go ahead and contract that glute. I'm gonna hold. And then I'm gonna release. Feeling a lot of pressure here through the hip. One more time, go ahead and contract. Hold. Good, release. Take one more good breath. Good, and then nice and easy, just come on out of that. Bring yourself back to your starting position. And then go ahead and let's get rid of this mat, okay? All right, so we've done a little softening. We've approximated the hip. We put it back in the socket. Now we're gonna go after some structures around the hip in order to really make this stick, okay? So what we're gonna go after is the front of this hip, this TFL area, okay? So last week I kind of highlighted this in another video. Some people with IT band issues, or what they say is IT band, but we know it is a problem usually with my quads and my hamstrings, the interface there. Things just aren't sliding properly, okay? So we're gonna take this ball, this could be a big ball or a small ball, and we're just gonna spend some time up at the top of the hip here on this TFL, this hunk of meat, and we're just gonna be seesawing back and forth, just scrubbing this up, okay? So once again, laying on the floor, I'm gonna have my ball on the ground, I'm gonna find that hunk of meat up in the front of the hip, and then I'm just gonna start off by doing some seesawing, okay? So back and forth. Ooh. Man, I am tight here, okay? So right away I found a nice spot here. It's lighting me up. It's telling my brain and my body like, hey, This isn't natural. I can't put my full body weight on it. So we're gonna go back to that pattern. So we're gonna contract. So go ahead and try and flex your quad and squeeze your glute. Hold for 4. Good, now control the release. Woo! If you can, put your full body weight on this just by laying on the ground. Go ahead and do some seesawing. You kind of need to bury your head here so nobody sees your pain face. You can do that too. Okay? I'm in that same spot. Just one time didn't do it for me, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to contract. I'm going to squeeze. I'm squeezing my glutes. I'm squeezing my quad here. I'm flexing. And then I'm going to release. After the release, I'm going to do a little scrubbing side to side here. I'm still working on my nice breathing. Trying to get my body to relax. And just from 2 rounds there, I can feel that tension just came out of that tight spot that I had, okay? So I'm gonna move down ever so slightly because now I can feel it, it's working down. So now I got this new spot, and here we go, we're just gonna repeat, okay? So I'm gonna flex my quad, I'm gonna squeeze my glute as hard as I can, and then I'm gonna release. After the release, I'm gonna do a little scrubbing side to side. Now in this position too, we can play around just like we were in the beginning. I can try and straighten my leg. I can try and bring my knee up to my chest. Just looking like a squat variation and just doing some flossing in there to help these tissues open up, okay? So if you got time, go for one more here. Go ahead and contract. Go ahead and squeeze quad and glute. I'm gonna go ahead and release. And then a little bit more seesaw in here. Great. Come on out. All right. Like we've said before, you know, if you're spending a good 2 to 3 minutes here there, that's great. If you can tell that you need more time to get these tissues to release, then take the time to do that. Okay. All right. So then last piece. Okay. So we've scrubbed the front of the hip. We've done a little bit of the side at the beginning. We've made sure the hip is sitting back in the socket. The last thing we're going to do is go after our adductors. Okay, a lot of times if we're a sitter on a daily basis, these muscles in here get really short, okay, and cause a lot of dysfunction around the hip, all right? So a couple options here on this one. You can use your big ball if you need to. You can use a foam roller, which would be a nice easy setup here, okay? We drape the leg over the foam roller to get into that inside hip, but my personal favorite is the handle of a kettlebell. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the handle, my kettlebell, I'm gonna bring it on over. My handle is straight up, and I'm literally going to lay the innermost part of my groin on top of that handle. Okay, so I'm gonna take my time, I'm gonna find that spot, right? And really the handle allows for us to get into a place that maybe we normally don't get into, okay? So once I'm here, I'm gonna try and do the best that I can in relaxing. So I'm just gonna take some breaths. Just letting my body know that this is okay right now. Tell my nervous system to chill out. Okay, and then from here, we're gonna try and do some contracting, okay? So you're gonna go ahead, you're gonna try and squeeze your butt, you're gonna try and press your groin into the handle of the kettlebell, hold for 4. And then go ahead and release that tension. Sinking in here. In between reps, let's do a little movement here, okay? Try to pull your heel towards your butt. Try to extend the leg out to the side. That was tough for me. So So I'm actually gonna stay in this position now. I felt like it was very difficult for me to straighten my leg out just doing that. So I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna go through that contract, relax sequence, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna contract, I'm gonna squeeze my quad, I'm gonna squeeze my glute, I'm gonna hold for 4, and then I'm gonna release. Take a few breaths. And then once again in between reps, I'm gonna go through that again. I'm gonna try and extend, a little better this time. Bring my heel towards my butt. I'm gonna hold in this position now, my heel towards my butt, because I can feel that this is pretty tight. And then once again, I'm gonna repeat that pattern, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna contract, trying to squeeze my butt, I'm trying to press my groin into the handle of the kettlebell, I'm gonna hold, and then I'm gonna release. Once again, in between reps, I'm gonna work some movement here. Nice and slow, controlled. We'll go one more time here. I'm gonna go ahead and contract, squeeze, hold. And then I'm gonna release. Take another good breath. Nice and easy, I'm gonna come on out. I'm gonna dismount that kettlebell, okay? All right, so that's one whole side here, guys. And then most importantly, always check to see what type of improvement you made. And the easiest way to do this one today is through an air squat, okay? So, and I'm gonna spend some time in the bottom here. And I'm just gonna see what the difference is as far as my mobility. Much easier to get this hip open. Right now, feels a lot better. This one, ooh, that is groggy, okay? So test it with your squat, see how it feels. Your depth, I can tell my depth is a little better on this hip as well. And then go ahead and repeat the whole sequence on that other hip. Even though if this isn't the one that's bothering you, let's make sure we're doing both sides here because it gives us a nice easy way to tell what's going on between each hip, okay? Because this one may feel good, so that's gonna be what we call normal, and this may be the one with dysfunction. Now I know the difference between the two, all right? Enjoy and get those hips feeling good.